So what do you think about when you think of the word nuclear? Maybe you'll think about the A-bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, or possibly the Cold War. Now, however, the way that nuclear energy affects our lives most today is by powering our TVs, lights, phones, any electronics. Actually, as a matter of fact, according to the World Nuclear Association, nuclear power now contributes over 20% of the power we use as a society. And it does this by only using about 65 nuclear power plants. The reason I'd like to discuss this with you today is because living in Statesboro, we live about an hour away from a nuclear reactor, one in Appling County. And also, I have family that's currently moving to Augusta, Georgia, where there will be a new nuclear reactor built by at least 2017. And the reason why that's important is because while relatively to oil and coal, nuclear has a low disaster rate, it still can be very dangerous, especially if the proper safety precautions aren't taken. So to learn more, I would now like to discuss its impact, or nuclear energy's impact in America, as well as what we can expect from it in the future. Okay, so I'd like to begin by discussing nuclear power's rise to prominence. It really came to being in the late 1960s. A man named Enrico Fermi was the main figure in introducing nuclear energy. And Americans were primarily drawn to this because it was a very clean and efficient fuel source, but also it was cheaper than coal and oil, which they were using at that time. Now, but the high cost of the nuclear reactors is what made people kind of hesitate. To make a new reactor, it costs about $1 billion. Now, and that's without seeing any profit from producing energy, and that also doesn't even include the costs for fuel and how much it costs to store that fuel. Now, it also is probably worth mentioning that people didn't like living next to anything that was dubbed as nuclear in the 70s, especially, with the Russians. Everyone had a big Russian scare, and so we didn't want kids growing extra arms, things like that. And what happened next sunk nuclear energy's popularity to an all-time low, and that was the incident that occurred at 3 Mile Island. Now, 3 Mile Island was a small island about 3 miles south of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, on which a nuclear power plant was operating. Due to overheating of the core, there was a partial meltdown, and while there are no immediate deaths or injuries as a cause of this meltdown, a man named David Williamson did a study that showed that for up to 2 years after this meltdown, communities as far as 10 miles away were experiencing a peak in leukemia as well as infant mortality. Now, and 3 Mile Island effectively ended all new construction of any nuclear power plants that were proposed to be built in the future. So after all this, it doesn't seem like we can really depend on nuclear energy as a power source. However, I would like to discuss what future technologies can bring for us. Depleting oil, new technological advances, backing from the federal government, as well as low fuel costs have recently set the stage for nuclear power to make a comeback. Because of its low popularity in recent years, uranium has still remained relatively cheap. It costs, 1 kilogram costs about $2,000. Now that's to enrich it, to store it, to do everything like that. However, that 1 kilogram of uranium can produce about as much energy as 20,000 kilograms of coal. So, and it can do this while being much more efficient and a lot cleaner than using coal. Also a key to nuclear energy's rise has been supporting from President Obama. Even through the Fukushima reactor meltdown in Japan, which we experienced last year, Obama has still remained very supportive of nuclear energy. And to try to regain popularity lost by the Fukushima accident, he actually commissioned a comprehensive nuclear safety review board. Basically what they would do is just go around to all 104 reactors that we have in the United States and make sure everything was up to proper safety specifications. Also, 2 new reactors are being built in Georgia, as I mentioned at the beginning of this speech. They're set to be built by 2017 and will be placed in Augusta. And the reason this is a big deal is because this is the first time Americans have started building new nuclear reactors since 1978. All right. Also, new technologies have prompted have sparked new interest in nuclear energy. There's currently reactors being developed with close support by the government that can help protect from plane crashes, fires, floods, any sort of thing that would cause a potential reactor meltdown. So to conclude, we have learned today why nuclear energy is a viable choice and to support our energy-hungry society. And so next time you think nuclear, try not to think bombs, but try to think of something that in the future we can all depend on.